Hey everyone, Taylor Robertson here with H.H. Hunt Homes out here at Greenwich Walk, and today we're going to talk about the most important tool in your kitchen, the kitchen knife. So there's a lot of misconceptions out there about the sharp knife being the most dangerous in your kitchen. That's actually not true. It's the dull knife that's going to get you. The reason is you're applying more pressure. As you apply that pressure, you may slip and actually cut yourself in doing so. So you want to keep sharp knives in your kitchen. We're going to talk a little bit about that today and go over some other tips for you as well. Let's get started. The first thing we're going to talk about is the honing steel. You've probably seen these. You probably have them in your knife block now. They're great for honing the edge, but they actually don't sharpen the knife. They don't at all. So what they do is actually the knife blade is shaped like a triangle. As your knife cuts things, the teeth of the knife get a little dull and they start to spread out. That's what a dull knife is. A honing blade actually brings those teeth back to the center point and realigns everything for you. We're going to talk about the honing steel. I have a diamond steel here. I prefer these a little bit more. They're a little bit more expensive, but I think they're well worth it and work a little better. But first thing we can talk about is the honing steel, how to properly use it. All the honing steels have a guard on them, or they should. What you want to do is kind of hold it straight up and hold it at about a 22-degree angle. For those that don't know, to figure out a 22-degree angle, this is 90 degrees, half of that is 45, and half of that is 22. And you just want to slowly from hilt to tip, just slide like this, the full range of the honing steel. And that's one way to sharpen your knife. The next way is to use the diamond steel if you want it, and you can actually same angle, that 22-degree angle, again 90 degrees, 45, and then 22, and you can actually draw the blade from hilt to tip all the way back. The next thing we're going to talk about is all knives, no matter which one, have three parts to them. They have the handle, the blade itself, and the edge. Most of the knives, it doesn't matter how the edge is shaped. You can have edges as small as this paring knife, but they're all sharpened very similarly, and the important part is keeping that blade sharp. Now that you know how to properly hone the edge of your knife, again, it's not a sharpening tool, so we're going to talk about sharpening tools next. The first is this sharpener. You may have one in your home. There's multiple different versions of this, including electric, which work great. But there's coarse and fine on this particular one. Very inexpensive to pick up. You can pick these up for Walmart or any kind of home improvement shop. What you're going to do is simply just draw the blade against the coarse one first and wipe it straight back. It is going to take some of the metal off the blade and realign that edge. Again, this sharpening tool is great to keep your knives regularly sharp, but if you have a really dull blade and you neglect to sharpen it, you may need to step up to something like a sharpening stone. I'm going to show you how to use that right now. So this is just a stone I picked up. It's 400 and 1000 grit. You want to start on the coarse side, which is the lower number, and that's a rougher to get your edge back to normal. What we're trying to do here is keep that 22-degree angle. Again, 90 degrees, half of that is 45, and then half of that is about 22. To maintain that angle, I just hold both my hands together like this and use my thumb as kind of a guide in the back here. What we're going to do is you want to soak your stone first in water. You can use oil. Oil works great as well, but just remember, if you start your stone on water, you want to continue it with water, and don't mix and match with oil and water. I have some oil stones at home that I use that work great as well, but water is perfectly fine. You just want to wet it, soak it in water until the bubbles, till there's no more bubbles, and you just want to have a bowl of water that you add water to. To maintain the angle, we're going to hold it and just simply smooth patterns. Remember how many strokes you make. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can count like this. And you just want to, the most important thing is keeping your elbows straight, and you just want to keep that angle the same all the way to the tip. And what you're doing is really polishing that edge. We're going to do the same on the other side. Again, same kind of tempo. I don't worry about keeping the exact number of strokes the same. It's roughly the same, but once we get to that finer grade, I'll do exactly the same. I'll do 10 strokes and 10 strokes on each side of the blade. But for now, we're just trying to get the relative polished edge and then using that same angle. Next, we're going to flip the stone over and we're going to really polish the edge. So you get this wet again, just a little side bowl. And this time we're going to count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, 10 there. And we're going to 10 on the other side. All right, then we're going to flip back over and do the middle section. Again, 10 strokes. Maintaining that angle. And then we're going to do the middle section. All right, we're going to wet the stone because if you start taking a little bit of material up, you want it wetted. That's how you know. All right, now we're back on the tip side. We're going to do, you have to use the tip a little bit differently. You do need to do the same amount of strokes. You just want to get, as that's the most curved part, you want to get all of the curve. And after that, you want to take your paper towel, wrap it around the blade from the back side, and wipe. And you can tell it's a sharp knife because on a tomato, which are really hard to cut normally, you just apply a little bit of pressure. The weight of the knife really does all the cutting, and it slices right through. An important part about sharpening your knife is knowing what type of metal is in your knife. There's many different varieties of metal. The most common is a stainless steel. This is a German steel. It does have a little bit of chromium in it, which makes it a little bit softer. Actually, the softness makes it easier to sharpen. However, it doesn't hold its edge as long, so you will have to sharpen this one more often. Something like this is a Japanese steel. It's called Damascus steel. It has a ton of carbon in it, which makes the blade actually harder. When I have a harder blade like this, it is harder to sharpen, but it typically holds the edge longer. So these are two different types of metal that you have in a blade. It's something to consider if you're looking or shopping for a new one, and it's definitely good to know. The harder steels, harder to sharpen, hold their edge longer. The softer steels like German stainless steels, softer steel, easier to sharpen, less time on the sharpened blade. There are other types like alloy metal. The number one key important thing in shopping for your next culinary knife is, of course, knowing what steel it is in the blade and getting a high quality steel, whether it be carbon or some of the stainless steel options out there. The next tip I have for you, if you're in a pinch and don't have a sharpening stone near you, you can grab any kind of ceramic bowl or coffee mug, just flip it over. You'll notice the rim here. You won't damage the bowl in any way, and you can simply use that to create a little bit of an edge on some of these smaller knives. Again, the most important thing is maintaining that angle. This will help you just in a pinch. Another tip when you're searching for a new knife is you want to look for a knife that goes all the way through the handle of the blade. This is a sign of a quality knife. A lot of them will attach with glue or bolt in a smaller piece of the blade here. There are knives that are really sharp that way and great quality, but it's typically a good sign of a quality knife when the blade goes all the way through the handle. That way you have one piece construction. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful for you, even if you picked up one or two things from it. And again, come check us out at Greenwich Walk and of course hhhunthomes.com.